Item 8.04, the superintendent's staff school report.
Okay, our report actually is also itemized as item 8.05, the Why Innovate. So I'll ask our crew to pull up the presentation for this evening. The team is going to provide not a recommendation, kind of an overview for the board. You're going to hear from a lot of us tonight, actually all of us. I want to remind the board there is no formal recommendation for action being presented tonight. This is an overview, and it's the first of at least 2 presentations coming to the Board of Education. So tonight we plan to share the first of at least 2 presentations to the Board of Education on the work we're doing to innovate the school experience. And tonight we're going to focus on creating a deep understanding regarding the why of this work. The outcomes for our presentation this evening are to provide context for innovation. We'll present the rationale behind Naperville 203's commitment to innovating experiences, structures, and learning opportunities for both staff and students, highlighting the need for transformation in education. Share progress of design teams. Update the Board of Education on the work of the Innovative School Experience Design Teams through a 2-part presentation series showcasing key developments and insights, and to foster cross-level understanding. To build a comprehensive understanding of each level's current state, including stakeholder feedback, innovative proposals, structural design choices, and the unique elements driving their plans for the future. As we reflect on what school is for, it's important to remember that school is not just about helping students succeed in school or preparing them for the world that we grew up in. Instead, it's about equipping them for a future we can't fully predict. During our first Focus 203 event, when was that? November?
Yes.
Thank you. We shared that our students will likely hold 12 to 15 different jobs before they're 40. And many of the careers they'll pursue haven't even been invented yet. It's not enough for us to have a system that prepares students to do well in school. Our true vision is for our school district to help build a passion for lifelong learning. And that means we need to prepare students for success after they leave. Today's students will be in the workplace well into the 2080s, navigating industries and challenges we can only imagine. With 80% of high school students expressing a desire for on-the-job learning opportunities, it's clear that education must evolve to meet these changing needs and empower our students to thrive in their future.
As we move towards the future, it's important to ground our work in the commitments we've made to our community through our strategic blueprint. Our previous blueprint, which guided us to 2020, included several transformative commitments that supported our work in building inclusive, supportive school communities. These commitments laid a strong foundation for ensuring all students feel a sense of belonging and have the tools needed to succeed. When we began writing our 2027 commitments, we knew this work had to continue and deepen. Our current blueprint includes multiple commitments that guide all we do. A few of those ongoing commitments are highlighted on this slide. We are committed to implementing a multi-tiered system of support, a comprehensive social-emotional learning plan, and a comprehensive equity plan to ensure every student has the skills, opportunities, and support needed to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally while preparing for college, career, and life readiness. These commitments remain at the heart of our work, and they are foundational to the changes we're discussing tonight. The work we are sharing today is not new. It's been a key focus of our district for years. Commitment 1.3, which calls for an analysis of innovative school day models, has been part of our focus since before 2018 and was added to our blueprint in 2021. This commitment is the backbone of the work we're sharing, guiding our efforts to create flexible, student-centered learning environments that support effective, individualized interventions and prepare every student for the future. It's the lens through which we've examined time, space, and the needs of today's learners. Developed by a design team of 70-plus community members, students, staff, local business owners, our profile of the learner was informed by a deep analysis of the skills businesses are seeking in future employees and the evolving demands of our society. The 5 competencies, adaptability, a learner's mindset, communication, critical thinking, and global citizenship, must guide our decisions on the learning experiences we provide. These skills will best prepare our students for life beyond our schools. We are deeply grateful to the Board of Education for adopting our new mission statement aligned with these essential competencies, further strengthening our commitment to empowering every learner. As we continue this journey of innovation, it's essential to understand the process that has guided our work. This framework, based on John Cotter's change process, reflects how we are moving forward with intentionality and focus. We've already set a clear vision, taken small but meaningful steps, and made changes within our current structures to innovate wherever possible. However, we've reached a point where we must address the conditions that limit our ability to fully realize change, such as instructional time, collaboration opportunities, and logistical challenges. Our next steps involve iterating and reiterating to meet the evolving needs of the students of the future. This requires us to continuously evaluate, innovate, and adapt, ensuring we stay responsive to the demands of the world our students will enter. Change is not a one-time event, but a constant cycle of improvement to prepare our learners for success.
Before we dive deeper into the changes ahead, it is important to take a moment to celebrate the incredible success we've experienced as a district. As you can see on this slide, we continue to perform at the highest levels across all academic accountability assessments, ranking in the 99th percentile in English language arts and mathematics, and at the 98th percentile in science among Illinois unit districts. We've also seen strong post-pandemic recovery. Our graduation rates exceed 95%, and more than 85% of our graduates enroll in post-secondary education. It's also exciting to note the rapid growth of new career-focused courses at the high school level, which have become some of the most in-demand offerings for our students. These accomplishments reflect the strength of our schools and the dedication of our community to preparing students for their future. While we have many reasons to celebrate, it's equally important to acknowledge the opportunities we have to better serve our students and prepare them for their future. As you can see on this slide, our data highlights key areas for improvement. For example, while on average our middle school students achieve at the 74th percentile in mathematics, their average growth ranks at the 42nd percentile, signaling a need for greater support in accelerating their progress. As we see challenges in student behavior and attendance, approximately 30% of exclusionary discipline incidents occur during unstructured time. Our chronic absenteeism rate is at 15%. First period tardies account for nearly half of all tardies at both the high school and middle school levels. Additionally, student surveys reveal that a sense of belonging declines as students progress through school. Only 67% of 3rd through 5th and 55% of 6th through 12th graders feel a strong sense of belonging. While 85% of our graduates enroll in post-secondary education, roughly 50% of them complete a degree within 4 years. In addition to the data highlighted on this slide, we also acknowledge the achievement gaps that exist for students within our school system. As we've shared previously, students with disabilities that are economically disadvantaged, English learners, or identify as African American Black experience gaps within our system. Our innovation strives to address this. These data points drive home the importance of the work we're doing to remove barriers, create meaningful learning opportunities, and foster a supportive environment where all students can thrive.
Next, let's take a look at how our school day lengths and schedules compare to other districts in our area. This slide shows elementary, middle school, and high school day length comparisons with start and end times. For example, the first green bar shows that our current elementary school day is 6 hours and 15 minutes in length, beginning at 8:15 a.m. and ending at 2:30 p.m. For our elementary schools, our school day is 15 minutes shorter than the average in our area. On the other hand, we have one of the longest high school days, 27 minutes longer than the average nearby. Another key difference is how we structure our start and end times. While most unit districts in the area stagger their school day so that each level finishes in the order in which it starts, and they average nearly 40 minutes between start times for different levels, we average just 15 minutes between levels. Additionally, we are the only unit district in the Chicagoland area using nested school days, where schedules for each level overlap rather than stagger. This slide shows some critical facts about our current structures, facts that raise important questions about how we can better serve our students. For example, did you know that many of our high school students who take the bus arrive at school more than an hour before classes begin, with some boarding as early as 6:15 a.m., 90 minutes prior to the start of their day? Did you know that our elementary school day is one of the shortest in the state, even compared to similar districts in our area? Did you know that our middle school schedules provide fewer minutes for mathematics instruction than what is recommended by research and the state average? Did you know that instructional time for literacy is currently blocked at 82 to 150 minutes at both the elementary and middle school levels? And did you know that we have continuous enrollment at our early childhood center, welcoming new students every week when our youngest learners turn 3? These facts highlight challenges in how we allocate time and structure our school days, which directly impact our students' learning experiences and outcomes. As we bring together all of the data, challenges, and opportunities we've discussed thus far, this slide highlights several key areas that represent the structural barriers we face in creating the innovative school experience our students and our staff deserve. These are the challenges we are working to address with our proposed solutions.
Engagement. Our students are telling us they want something different, not just through their words, but through their behaviors and performance. Purposeful, relevant learning experiences are key to improving attendance, reducing tardiness, and fostering deeper engagement.
Instructional minutes and state mandates. Compared to other districts, we are not aligned in critical areas such as math instructional time. Research and best practices recommend more minutes for math at the middle school level, and we must also consider how to use the time we have better, including our transitions. State mandates continue to grow, requiring us to do more within the same amount of time.
Supports and schedules. Our school day structure has remained largely unchanged for decades. Many of you see your children following schedules similar to what you experienced. How many of us can say our careers haven't evolved in how we do business? Unstructured time, limited individualized supports, and nested school days are all barriers to progress.
Post-secondary readiness. We need to ensure students leave us with the skills they need to be successful, whether that's college, career, or life. This includes skills-based instruction, exposure to careers, mentorship opportunities, exploratory options at the middle school level, and college course options at the high school level.
Professional collaboration. Our teachers are being asked to do more than ever, supporting academic, social, emotional, and wellness needs, all while delivering deeper interdisciplinary learning experiences. Collaboration is foundational to this work, yet our current structures do not allow for the meaningful planning and teamwork that is critical for our success.
Finally, there's an additional factor, our nested transportation and school day schedules. This means our school days fit within one another and are not staggered. These schedules create inefficiencies that ripple through all levels, limiting how we can innovate time and space to meet the needs of students and staff. These categories summarize the structural challenges we are working to overcome. Addressing these barriers is essential to creating the kinds of learning environments that will prepare our students for their futures.
These structural barriers lead us to the heart of our work, our identified problem of practice. At its core, innovating the school experience is about transforming learning experiences and creating flexible scheduling to meet the needs of all students as they prepare for the future. This means
we need to increase opportunities for interdisciplinary learning experiences that focus on developing real-world skills and promoting the skills in our profile of a learner.
Allowing for individualized supports and learning paths so every student has the chance to thrive.
Expanding work-based learning and career pathway opportunities to better prepare students for life after graduation.
Addressing the social emotional well-being of students, ensuring they feel supported and ready to learn.
increasing teacher collaboration and connection with students to foster meaningful relationships and deeper learning.
Enhancing professional collaboration so our educators have the time and tools to iterate, innovate, and build dynamic, authentic learning experiences.
This is the driving force behind our work, to create schools that truly prepare students for the world they will enter, not just the one we know today. It's a bold vision, but one we are fully committed to achieving together. Our commitment to innovating the school experience has been years in the making. This work has been guided by intentional efforts to analyze, learn, and design solutions that meet the needs of our students for the future. As you can see from this timeline, our process over the past 6 years has engaged many members of our staff, administration, parents, community, partners, and students. In 2018, teams analyzed surveys and existing school day structures to propose structural changes. While these proposals provided valuable insights, they were not implemented at the time due to various constraints. From 2019 to 2022, the district made progress by expanding blended learning opportunities, revising high school schedules, developing a comprehensive strategic plan, and reviewing and updating middle school exploratory course offerings to better align with student interests and workforce needs. In the summer of 2023, administrators across the district engaged in learning about emerging technologies, including generative AI, during an innovation summit. This summit launched critical discussions about 1, transitioning from primarily a content-specific focus to prioritizing the skills students need to succeed in the future. 2, addressing the implications of generative AI and other technological advancements. And 3, reimagining the school experience to meet the demands of an evolving world. Then, in the spring of 2024, leveled design teams consisting of licensed staff, administrators, and educational support professionals at each level began a deeper dive. They reviewed research, analyzed neighboring school structures, developed core beliefs, and designed innovative structures tailored to the needs of their students.
Our work to innovate the school experience has been a collaborative effort. Design teams were created at each level, early childhood, elementary, middle school, and high school, and included a diverse group of representatives from NUEA, NESPA, and administrative positions. Members for these teams were selected in partnership with NUEA leadership. These teams began meeting in the spring of 2024 and have continued to meet throughout this school year. Regular updates were shared with district administration, and we maintain open communication with union leadership, ensuring that this work remained collaborative and transparent. Additionally, representatives from each design team came together as a district-level team to share insights, compare proposals, and ensure alignment across all levels. This collaborative approach helped us refine ideas and gather valuable feedback. To keep all staff informed, we've shared ongoing updates and resources through a responsive and comprehensive internal Innovating the School Day Google site. It was Innovating the School Experience Google site, which has been a central hub for communication and engagement in this process. The purpose of the design teams was to thoroughly analyze our current conditions, comparing them against lived experiences, requirements, and the unique constraints of operating as a unit district. Each team worked to identify core values and beliefs about student experiences, school structures, and future considerations. They then developed transformative recommendations aimed at supporting the academic, social-emotional, and behavioral development of all students. Finally, the teams determined and recommended schedule structures that align with our priorities for both students and staff, providing clear rationale and examples to support their proposals. Before we review the specific challenges and proposals for each level, it is important to know that when completing their work on our problem of practice, the design teams considered a wide range of factors to ensure their proposals were comprehensive and aligned with our goals. They reviewed the work of the 2018 school day teams, analyzed staff morale data, and surveys from both students and staff. examined our data and current challenges, and studied research and best practices. They also reflected on societal and landscape shifts and intentionally incorporated the skills and attributes from our profile of a learner. All of this informed a cohesive plan designed to meet the evolving needs of our students, staff, and community.
Our district is proud to be a comprehensive system that serves students from early childhood through transition programs. Next, we will share the proposals developed by each of our leveled design teams. As a part of the early childhood design process, all staff, including our invaluable educational support professionals, participated in a survey and an all-staff meeting to share their insights and priorities. Key themes from the feedback included the need to increase opportunities for staff planning, collaboration, and co-teaching roles, and to expand developmental play-based learning structures and experiences for students. Staff emphasized the importance of systematic screening processes to inform educational supports, along with targeted classroom supports tailored to diverse student needs. They also recommended adopting aligned Tier 1 literacy and SEL curricula to ensure consistent, high-quality teaching targeted to developmental stages. Supports and educational opportunities to strengthen family engagement in the learning process. Based on staff feedback, the early childhood design team developed core values and beliefs that guided their recommendations. These focus on fostering inclusive, supportive environments where every child feels a sense of belonging and providing a balanced approach to play-based and teacher-directed learning. Families are recognized as essential partners in nurturing student growth. For teaching and learning, the team emphasized the importance of aligned, research-based curriculum that integrates social-emotional learning and academics. They also highlighted the need to support staff with collaboration, balanced workloads, and professional growth, ensuring the highest quality instruction for our youngest learners. These core values and beliefs serve as the foundation for their proposed changes. Our early childhood program currently serves students in 2.5-hour sessions, either in the morning or afternoon, in multi-age classrooms for 3 to 5-year-olds. Teachers in these classrooms fulfill multiple roles, serving as general education teachers, learning behavior specialists for students with IEPs, and multilingual specialists for English learners. Despite these complex responsibilities, teachers have only 25 minutes of planning time each day and 2 30-minute specials weekly to address students' unique needs and design innovative learning experiences. Additionally, there are only 5 non-student attendance days per year to support home visits, community events, and collaboration. The early childhood design team has proposed several key changes to enhance learning and better meet the needs of our youngest students. First, they recommend increasing planning and collaboration time to allow teachers to innovate and design instruction that aligns with early childhood standards and addresses each student's unique needs. Second, the team proposes tailoring instruction to students' developmental stages by differentiating attendance times based on age level, ensuring that each child receives the appropriate support and opportunities for growth. Finally, they emphasize the importance of play-based preparation for kindergarten to help children transitioning from early childhood programs develop the skills and confidence they need for success in kindergarten. The proposed schedule for early childhood introduces significant improvements to better meet the developmental needs of our students while supporting our educators' ability to plan and collaborate. Under this proposal, 3-year-olds would attend only in the morning for a slightly shorter session of 2 hours, and 4 to 5-year-olds would attend in the afternoon for the same 2.5-hour session as before. This change allows for tailored instruction aligned with each age group's developmental needs. Similar to our current structure, on Mondays, only students requiring additional supports would attend for targeted interventions, ensuring they receive the focused help they need. Additionally, on Friday mornings, 3-year-olds would not attend, giving educators the time to conduct home visits, provide community events, and collaborate with colleagues. This schedule also allows educators to have 55 minutes of daily planning time, a significant increase enabling them to design innovative and individualized instruction for every student. I will now share priorities for the elementary design team. In the spring, elementary staff participated in a survey to share their feedback and priorities for improving the school experience. Key themes included the need to increase staff collaboration and planning time and to dedicate more time for student support, intervention, and extension. Staff also emphasized the importance of integrating core content areas, creating authentic and personalized learning experiences, and increasing time for SEL and morning meetings. Finally, there was a focus on the need to protect instructional minutes to ensure high-quality teaching and learning remains central to the school day. Building on staff insights, the elementary design team developed core values and beliefs to guide their recommendations. For student experiences, the team emphasized the importance of explicit SEL instruction and morning meetings to foster life skills and a sense of belonging. They also prioritized personalized, authentic learning opportunities tied to MTSS to engage students and promote achievement. In professional collaboration, the focus is on fostering innovation, reducing workload, and enhancing collective efficacy through responsive best practices. The team also recommended integrating learning across subjects to support differentiation and engagement while ensuring core instructional minutes are equitable and aligned with state standards. Finally, they proposed a dedicated What I Need or WIN block to address academic and social emotional needs, ensuring equitable access to support for all students. Our elementary students currently attend school for 6 hours and 15 minutes each day. However, there are inconsistencies in the structures used to provide interventions and extensions for students, which impacts how support is delivered. Additionally, schedules do not always account for non-instructional tasks, making it challenging to balance academic and operational needs. The time allocated for morning or class meetings, which foster community and social emotional learning, also varies across classrooms and schools. Lastly, planning and collaboration time for teachers differs from school to school, creating inequities in how teams can work together to design and deliver effective instruction. The elementary design team has identified several key proposals to address the current challenges and create a more consistent and effective school experience for our students, and they propose adding 15 minutes of time to the length of the student day in order to adequately address the first three components of their proposal. First, they propose built-in time for individualized interventions and extensions to ensure that all students receive the support and enrichment they need. Second, the team emphasizes the importance of establishing a daily morning meeting routine with explicit social and emotional learning opportunities to foster a sense of belonging and build essential life skills. Third, they propose maximizing instructional time while accounting for non-instructional tasks like snacks and transitions. Finally, the team recommends increasing opportunities for collaboration, both within schools and across the district, to ensure consistency and to empower teachers to work together to enhance student learning. This sample first grade schedule reflects the proposed changes, highlighting how we can create a more consistent and intentional structure for our elementary schools. The schedule includes a dedicated 15-minute homeroom period each day, ensuring time for morning meetings and explicit social and emotional learning. This routine fosters a sense of community while setting a positive tone for the day. Additionally, the schedule accounts for necessary transitions and non-instructional tasks without taking time away from core content areas. For example, you will see 20 minutes allotted during the morning recess time, even though recess is 15 minutes. And there is 45 minutes allotted at the midday lunch recess time, even though they are 20 minutes for lunch and 20 minutes for recess, 40 minutes combined. This approach helps us maximize instructional time while addressing the logistical needs of the school day.
Now I will share the priorities for the middle school design team. Both middle school students and staff provided valuable feedback to inform the design team's work. Students expressed a desire for increased opportunities for social connections, expanded course offerings, and more hands-on project-based learning experiences. They also emphasized the importance of balanced workloads, increased choice and autonomy, and adjustments like later start times or shorter days to better support their well-being. Staff feedback highlighted the need to limit or structure unstructured time, increase math minutes, and dedicate time for SEL activities and fostering a sense of belonging. They also prioritize teacher autonomy within the schedule, increased collaboration time for exploratory teachers, and enhanced access to interventions and special education services without pulling students from core classes. Both groups called for expanded exploratory offerings and a focus on ensuring daily recess and physical education to support overall student engagement and well-being. The middle school design team also developed belief statements from the survey data to guide their recommendations, focusing on key areas to enhance student learning and well-being. For school day structures, the team emphasized implementing fewer transitions and structured arrival processes to increase focus and readiness. They also proposed a flexible modified block schedule to foster deeper learning, personalized support, and strong teacher-student relationships while remaining responsive to adolescent needs. In student engagement and well-being, the team prioritized creating a safe, inclusive environment that promotes engagement, interdisciplinary learning, and social interaction while maintaining daily physical education and recess. For exploratory courses, they recommended offering diverse, interest-driven options that allow students to accelerate, explore their passions, and even earn high school credit when appropriate. Finally, they proposed dedicated time for individualized supports in MTSS, ensuring students receive the SEL, academic, and executive function support they need, paired with purposeful staff collaboration to deliver targeted interventions effectively. Currently, middle school students experience a 9-period day with 41-minute classes and 10 transitions, resulting in significant unstructured time throughout the day. There is no dedicated weekly advisory, which limits opportunities for building connections and addressing students' social emotional needs. Additionally, students only have access to one exploratory course, and some must give that up to receive academic interventions. Instructional time is uneven, with 82 minutes allocated to English language arts daily, but only 41 minutes for math, which does not align with best practices for middle school math instruction. Finally, students in band and orchestra miss core classes to participate, creating scheduling conflicts that impact their academic experience. The middle school design team has proposed several impactful changes to address current challenges and create a more balanced and enriching school experience for our students. First, they recommend increasing math instructional minutes to 53 to 60 minutes per day to align with best practices and provide deeper support for student learning. Attached to the math course is a 20-minute What I Need period, which would occur daily, during which students can receive additional math intervention or enrichment from their math teacher or support from other specialists and related service providers. Second, the team proposes incorporating time for individualized interventions while ensuring students maintain access to exploratory offerings, so no one has to sacrifice opportunities for support or enrichment. They also suggest adding a weekly anchor day that includes advisory and a point of connection with all classes occurring. This day would focus on building community, strengthening SEL and profile of a learner's skills, and supporting connections across content areas. Additionally, the team emphasizes the need for deeper learning opportunities in math, science, and social studies, with flexible time built in for hands-on projects, interdisciplinary connections, and collaboration. A flexible, modified block for social studies and science means that teachers have the autonomy to collaborate and decide if a full block or split period is instructionally appropriate. Throughout the week, a student may have a combination of science or social studies blocks as well as individual periods. Finally, they propose adding innovative exploratory choices to expand opportunities for students to explore their interests, develop new skills, and continue to build out pathways aligned with the high school. The proposed middle school schedule introduces several enhancements designed to better meet student needs, provide personalized learning opportunities, and address key structural challenges. Students have many options in the exploratory paths that they choose. This schedule includes a flexible modified block, which maintains a 2-period English language arts instructional block. This slide increases mathematics instructional time to 53 or 60 minutes daily, depending on if it's an anchor day or a block day, aligning with the best practices to ensure students have adequate time to deepen their understanding with a 20-minute win or what I need period attached to math, offering the individualized support for any content area, including math, tailored to student needs. Social studies and science are organized into these flexible time blocks that can be combined or separated, depending on the instructional needs. This structure supports deeper learning and hands-on projects in these critical subjects. Students will have access to 2 daily exploratory classes plus physical education, ensuring opportunities for enrichment and personal growth. Band and orchestra would now be embedded in the schedule, eliminating the need for students to miss core classes to participate. Additionally, students receiving interventions will still be able to take an exploratory class, ensuring equity and access for all. Daily PE and lunch with recess remain a part of the daily schedule. Meeting students' physical and social emotional needs, we are looking at offering a variety of options for students to participate in during the recess period, as many students have voiced they want recess time, but do not all want the traditional outdoor recess as it is now. The schedule will also reduce 1 to 2 transitions per day, decrease hallway traffic, and improve overall flow. Additionally, the structure supports the expansion of the exploratory wheel classes, giving students more choices and opportunities to explore diverse interests while fostering an engaging and supportive learning environment. The recommended proposal is to have a weekly anchor day, which would be on Wednesday. There would be an advisory to start the day, and the students would progress through all of their classes.
I will now share our high school priorities. In April of 2024, high school students and staff shared their reflections on the current state of our high schools through an anonymous survey. Their feedback has been instrumental in shaping the design team's work. Students emphasized the need for a shorter school day, referencing the challenges of our longer than average schedule as discussed earlier. They suggested starting later or ending earlier to better align with their needs for greater efficiency. Students also expressed a desire for more project-based, hands-on learning and flexible scheduling to personalize their coursework. They highlighted the importance of deepening teacher-student interactions and improving facilities to better support academics and extracurriculars. Staff feedback echoed many of these same themes, with calls for a schedule that supports flexibility, personalization, and genuine time for academic and SEL supports. Staff also advocated for student-centered instruction with authentic assessments and real-world learning experiences. Several staff did support the idea of a block schedule to provide consistency and better reflect these priorities. Both students and staff are asking for a school experience that is more personalized, engaging, and aligned with the needs of today's learners. The high school team has been hard at work over the past 9 months, focused on creating the conditions for responsive change, while fostering a dynamic learning environment centered on engagement, autonomy, connection, and support. In this process, we reviewed our current conditions alongside shared experiences, state requirements, and logistical constraints. Our goal has been to develop the recommendations that transform the high school experience in District 203, ensuring it best supports the academic, social, emotional, and behavioral development of our students. A key focus of this work has been to determine and recommend a schedule structure that aligns with these priorities for both students and staff, creating a foundation for meaningful and lasting change. Currently, our high school students navigate a complex and inconsistent schedule. They experience 8 to 9 periods per day with 7 to 8 passing periods, adding between 35 to 42 minutes of transition time daily. Class periods range from 42 to 50 minutes depending on the day, with the instructional time often narrowed by the need for opening and closing activities in each class. Our high school day is about 30 minutes longer than other suburban high schools, and transportation logistics add 60 to 90 minutes to students' days, requiring early wake-ups and long days that contribute to challenges with sleep and mental health. These factors emphasize the need to reimagine the school day to make better use of our students' and staff's time. Our students and staff follow 3 different schedules with 2 different start times each week, which can be a challenge when trying to establish routines. And while Wednesday late starts provide time for formal teacher collaboration, this only happens once per week. And most collaboration has to occur outside of the school day due to scheduling constraints. One of the key shifts recommended by the design team is a focus towards deep learning, moving beyond traditional surface-level teaching practices to more meaningful, student-centered learning experiences. This approach emphasizes inquiry-based, project-oriented, and collaborative work that allows students to apply their knowledge in real-world scenarios. Longer periods of time are essential for engaging these types of complex and impactful learning activities. Currently, students have large amounts of unstructured time during the school day due to these transitions and transportation constraints. The design team seeks to reduce unstructured time by creating a more compact, efficient, and engaging school day, which we believe will also improve attendance and connection with school. As interventions and social emotional learning time have been added, class periods have grown shorter, making it harder to meet our instructional goals. Our goal is to maximize instructional time, organize it into larger chunks for deeper learning, and provide more time for individualized interventions and social emotional support. Finally, we recognize the importance of teacher collaboration. Currently limited to Wednesday morning late starts, this time is insufficient to meet the growing demands of interdisciplinary and collaborative teaching. The proposed schedule seeks to increase opportunities for teacher collaboration to support the high-quality learning experiences that our students deserve. To meet the goals of our desired state, the high school team recommends a block schedule model. This framework includes 4 block days and 1 anchor day in a typical 5-day week. On block days, each course is organized and scheduled for 85 minutes of instruction, with the third block extended by 52 minutes to allow for lunch. Lunch periods can occur at the beginning, middle, or end of this block, and upperclassmen will retain their off-campus lunch privileges. Block days are organized into 2 clusters, A and B, maintaining the current number of courses while adding an additional 2 40-minute periods for interventions or homeroom. The anchor day, shown in the middle of the week, follows a traditional high school schedule with 46-minute periods, ensuring that each course meets 3 times in a 5-day week. In shortened weeks, the anchor day would be eliminated to balance the schedule. It is important to note that this is not the same block schedule used during pandemic learning. This model doubles the time available for interventions and student support. It reduces time spent in unstructured passing periods and compacts the school day by 35 minutes, going from 7 hours and 25 minutes to 6 hours and 50 minutes. This adjustment allows students to get more sleep while giving faculty time to meet before school without needing a special schedule. Truly a win-win for both students and staff. While the student day is shorter, instructional minutes remain maximized. Teachers spend just as much time in instruction as they do now, but benefit from longer blocks that reduce the need for tasks such as taking attendance and opening and closing each class. The time used for these tasks instead has been converted into win and soar time, which allows for more instruction in subjects where students may need additional support or the opportunity to extend their learning. The flexibility to add time during the day in areas where students may need extension or support is designed to address the feedback we received from students and staff and is in alignment with our level belief statement. These longer blocks also enable deeper learning activities, allowing teachers and students to fully engage without interruptions or delays. Finally, let's take a moment to reflect on the structure of the typical middle or high school day. Imagine if your workday were organized like a traditional American high school. You arrive at the office, sit at your desk, and begin working. After 45 minutes, a bell rings and you're required to leave that task, whether it is finished or not, and move to another part of the building. There, a new supervisor gives you a completely different set of tasks. 45 minutes later, the bell rings again, and you repeat this process 7 or 8 times during the day. Under these circumstances, how productive do you think you would be? This is the assembly line factory model of education, and it is unique to secondary schools. In contrast, elementary schools structure time in extended blocks for literacy and math, and at the university level, 77% of courses at the University of Illinois are longer than 50 minutes, with most ranging from 80 to 180 minutes. When our students enter the workforce, they're going to need the ability to focus on tasks for extended periods of time. With the prevalence of technology and digital distractions, it's more important than ever to build mental stamina and focus. A block schedule provides students with opportunities to develop these critical skills, preparing them for the demands of college, careers, and life beyond high school.
I will now review Innovative Practices at Connections, our transition program for serving students with disabilities aged 18 to 22. Students receiving services through Connections have a varying level of needs and post-service goals that range from attending college-level classes, obtaining employment in the community, and/or participating in a day program. Our Connections program is already extraordinarily innovative in its efforts to provide real-world application and vocational training. For some of our students, this can be a schedule that mirrors a community college by engaging in learning at the College of DuPage. Other students are benefiting from the innovative micro-businesses that are housed at our Connections building. All of these opportunities further prepare them for their futures. Currently, innovative facility changes are underway to enhance the Connections program. Renovations include creating bigger business spaces to allow more independence, as shown in the renderings on the left, and residential-style classrooms pictured on the right. These new spaces will support authentic learning experiences and are set to be completed for the 2025-26 school year. As students and staff assimilate to the new space, we will continue to incorporate innovative thinking into our planning for all Connections students.
This slide highlights the instructional time imbalances across levels within our district. While middle school instructional minutes align with regional averages, Naperville 203 has fewer middle school math minutes compared to peer districts. At the elementary level, instructional minutes are significantly lower than other districts, while high schools have significantly more. The gap between daily instructional minutes for elementary and high school, 70 minutes, is the second largest in the area. This imbalance also impacts equitable access to learning opportunities, particularly for elementary and middle school subjects like math and targeted interventions. Research consistently shows that in school improvement, early trumps later, ensuring a strong foundation at the elementary and middle schools levels lead to better outcomes at the high school level. Addressing these disparities is critical for supporting equity and academic success across all grade levels. Block learning offers a powerful opportunity to enhance both student engagement and achievement by providing opportunities for deeper learning and addressing some of the structural challenges of traditional schedules. With extended class periods, students can explore content in greater depth through hands-on learning and in-depth discussions. This allows for a richer understanding of material while reducing cognitive load by focusing on fewer subjects per day, improving retention and comprehension. Block schedules also provide time for differentiated instruction, enabling teachers to offer individualized supports, small group work, and personalized learning to meet the diverse needs of all of our students. This approach benefits those who need additional help to close achievement gaps while enriching and extending opportunities for advanced learners. By reducing instructional fragmentation, block schedules allow for cohesive lesson plans that include complex text, tasks, and inquiry-based learning, fostering critical thinking and problem-solving skills. The decrease in transition time also minimizes disruptions, creating a more focused and productive learning environment. Extended periods further enhance student-to-staff relationships by providing more time for personalized interactions, addressing diverse learning needs, and building a supportive classroom environment. This approach not only helps address achievement gaps at the high school levels, but also provides a framework for enriched, engaging learning experiences that prepare all students for the demands of college and careers.
This slide highlights key operational differences in our district's school day structure compared to other unit districts, which impact both efficiency and student experience. Naperville 203 is unique in that high schools start first and end last, while elementary schools start last and end first. In most neighboring districts, schools end in the same order they start, with high schools starting first, followed by middle and elementary schools. Our nested school day structure creates operational inefficiencies. Elementary school days are nested within middle school days, and middle school days within high school days, with only 15 minutes separating start and end times. Inefficient insufficient for bus routes that require 25 to 30 minutes plus drive time. These scheduling challenges also lead to extended unsupervised time, with high school students dropped off as early as 6:45 a.m. for a 7:45 a.m. start, and middle school students arriving 30 minutes early. Close scheduling across levels limits our ability to supervise effectively, particularly in middle and high schools. In contrast, most other districts structure their schedules to minimize conflicts and maximize operational efficiency, avoiding the inefficiencies created by our current nested structure.
And this slide outlines the key structural changes we're proposing across all levels to address the challenges and opportunities we've discussed tonight. While structures themselves aren't inherently innovative, they are essential in creating the conditions for innovation to thrive. These changes are designed to ensure that our students' time in school is purposeful, engaging, and aligned with their developmental and academic needs. We propose a staggered school day to make better use of time and resources. By also ensuring that students arrive at school as close to the start of the day as possible, we reduce unstructured time and maximize instructional opportunities. At the elementary level, we plan to add 15 minutes to the school day to account for time for an intervention and extension block, daily morning meetings, and non-instructional tasks without stealing time from core instruction. At the same time, at the secondary level, we aim to reduce non-instructional time, like excessive passing periods or lengthy time before school even begins, to ensure that time is reallocated to meaningful learning opportunities. For middle school, we propose extending mathematics instructional time and creating opportunities for deeper learning in all subjects, including flexible blocks for interdisciplinary projects and collaboration. We also propose shifting the elementary start time earlier, while delaying start times for middle and high school to better align with physiological needs of adolescents. Research tells us that later start times improve sleep, alertness, and overall well-being for teens. Finally, no school day would start before 7:30 a.m. or end later than 4 p.m., ensuring that our schedules are both developmentally appropriate and efficient for students, families, and staff. While we believe these proposed schedule shifts and instructional changes will benefit all students, we are particularly excited about the positive impact for students requiring additional supports or special education services. These changes provide greater opportunities for individualized learning without compromising instructional time or students' access to career exploration experiences. These structural changes lay the groundwork for a more innovative school experience, one that prepares students for the challenges and opportunities of the future while supporting their growth for success today. And so looking ahead, these are the critical next steps in finalizing and implementing our proposed instructional and operational schedules. First, we'll review and incorporate feedback from the Focus 203 events, the Board of Education, students and staff into the final models of instruction and operational schedules. Next, we'll create a timeline of communication to ensure all stakeholders are informed throughout the process. On February 3rd, we'll present recommended final models to the Board of Education for their consideration at a future meeting. Simultaneously, we will collaborate with our 4 associations to assess the impact of these changes and address any bargaining implications. To prepare for these shifts, we are providing professional learning structures and supports to equip staff for the instructional and operational changes. Finally, we'll communicate all final schedules and shifts to students, staff, families, and community stakeholders to ensure a smooth and successful transition. I'd like to end by thanking those of you that were able to attend one of our Focus 203 sessions. As you heard, our presentation tonight included much of what was shared with stakeholders last week. We look forward to sharing with you on February 3rd our final recommendations. At this time, we're happy to answer any questions that you have. We also recognize that you may have a lot of questions, and that we can follow a similar process to what we have before on topics like this. Questions you submit, we can propose or prepare a formal document for public posting in the future as well. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks for that presentation. It is very clear that this has been a long, thoughtful process. Well, we'll just go with questions. I'm anxious to hear what the board has to say. Amanda, go ahead.
Before I jump into my questions, can I make a suggestion that maybe we ask questions based off of each level, like if start with early childhood, so we all stay focused, and then go to elementary, that kind of thing, because there's just so much content, and I hate to jump around. That's just a suggestion, we don't have to follow it, but it would help me stay focused. So, opening that up to the board for an option.
How does the board?
My questions are more broader in scope than general.
Okay.
Or I mean, than specific levels.
Right. Mine too.
Okay.
Some of them.
Did you want to start with any questions, Amanda?
Sure. All right, I'm going to jump in here. Here we go. That's my questions. I did send these questions in advance. I did have some that came up afterwards while you were presenting as well. One of the questions that I had was for early childhood, so I'll start there. Thank you for being here, Principal Marker. My question is around the home visiting, and I noticed that you put in there a specific schedule for home visiting every single week, well, and other community events. And I'm just curious about how that is utilized. How many home visits do students typically get? And is it only for 3-year-olds, or is it for all grades, or ages, I should say?
It's a great question. Home visiting is part of our family involvement and family engagement strand as it relates not only to our programming but our grant requirements. Home visits themselves are not actually required by number, but rather by best practice. And so there's several ways in which we engage our families. Several of those are professional learning opportunities. So a lot of that is how do we enrich homes with pre-literacy skills, pre-mathematical skills, because what we know about families is they are their students' first teachers. Additionally, so we do that through home visits. Sometimes it's also problem solving with families. And so addressing issues that families may be having and our teachers can provide support in that area. It would be our intent to use that Friday morning block to get out into the community more, but then sometimes also doing some supported events in the community where we're engaging different community stakeholders and engaging our families in other resources that they may not otherwise access. Finally, by allowing ourselves to engage more in the homes, we're able to better understand culture and the way that also positively impacts student school experience and help our families learn to do school in a way that helps them engage in the longevity of our EC12 district.
If I could chime in for just a second on that also.
Oh, sure.
We shared in the presentation that 3-year-olds are continuously enrolling in our program on a regular basis. And currently we have 5 days that are dedicated towards home visits. That doesn't necessarily provide us the opportunity to do timely home visits in conjunction with when students start in our program. So this would allow us to be more responsive in connecting with families that are enrolling new to our program.
Yeah, I did a lot of work in my previous position in early childhood. So first of all, I want to say congratulations on the Gold Circle. I know how difficult that is to achieve, so congratulations on that under your leadership. And also, Anna Reed is my adopted school, and so I had the privilege of being able to tour the absolutely beautiful and innovative site, so I just am excited about that. Just one more logistical question around early childhood then is, do 3-year-olds currently attend 5 days a week?
Students come 4 days a week.
Oh, 4
and
days,
then,
okay.
Correct. And then some of our students requiring additional support do come 5 days a week.
Okay, so this proposal then would, it is reducing the number of hours a 3-year-old would come, but it does allow more intentional focus on the developmental needs of 3-year-olds, which is much different than the 4 to 5-year-olds, which are preparing for kindergarten, right?
Absolutely accurate.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That was my early childhood stuff. I'll yield. I do have more questions on each level, but I'll yield for now. Thank you.
Donna?
Thank you. First, I want to just thank everyone for all of the work that has been put in since 2018, and watching this process unfold has been an honor and a privilege, so thank you for that. Change is very difficult, and I understand that, and I want you to know that the content of what you're proposing and the rationale for your proposals are obviously backed by research and best practice, so that's very much appreciated. I also appreciate the input in the process of the level design teams. I think that that's so critical to understanding the needs of our students, the needs of our staff, so thank you for that. I only have one question on the content of the presentation. I'm going to save that for my last question. I do have questions on implementation process, which we haven't gotten to yet, but I'm going to translate that into things I need to know before the February 3rd vote. And so you don't have to answer these, but there are things that
I want to just interrupt really quick. I
Sure.
apologize. We're not bringing it for action on February 3rd.
Oh.
It'll be with discussion without action.
Okay.
We have yet to assemble our final recommendation
Got
to
it.
the board.
Okay.
So this is kind of more of the why we're doing this and what you should expect. Yep, so you'll still continue to have more time.
Okay, so I'm still going to share with you the things I need to know before I end up voting at some point, okay? When a start date is proposed to us, I need to know if, what input the level design teams had on that. And again, this isn't stuff I want today. I'm just giving you a heads up as we go. And in particular, if the implementation process was discussed with the level design teams. Having been a previous high school teacher, to implement a schedule like this, and I'm not opposed to it, I love all of the ideas, but to implement this would require every staff member to feel like a brand-new teacher going through, reiterating all of their lesson plans. And it's not just a matter of taking 2 lesson plans and putting them together, because that doesn't work for a really good teacher who wants to have structure to their learning, time for collaboration, and all. It changes everything. So I know that you can't take 2 lessons and put them together into one. It doesn't work that way. So I need to understand the timeline of implementation support for our staff. That was one of my questions. The other, let's see, I also have, I know we've done a lot of communication to the community, and I know you have on your list here communication, but I would like us to see, like, you just mentioned this, so thank you, Jan, like some kind of Q&A, but not necessarily just for the for the board, but more so for parents, like on our website, like where people could go if they have questions, because people are going to have the same kinds of questions. So that's important to me. I think that will cover that. Not voting on February 3rd helped me a lot. Sorry, I misunderstood that. My one question on the content was the when that's attached to math, and I understand it's what I need to know, or what I need. Can you expand on what that looks like exactly, because I'm not following that piece? Well, I believe it was referenced at both junior high and high school, but it's attached to the math in junior high, so I think I just want to understand what that actually is looking like.
Yeah, so in a few of the districts that we did site visits to and research, they refer to it as the back 20. So it is taking the last 20 minutes of a traditional block and making it an intervention period. So the students are in their mathematics class. It's typically a reduce the ratios setting. So there will be interventionist specialists, LBS, EL teachers. People may flood the room so that students get more small group or individualized attention. The core teacher would still be in the classroom, or the co-teacher possibly that is dedicated to the class, and so they would be facilitating intervention or enrichment for mathematics. However, there are some students who may need support in a different area more frequently, and so it allows the back 20, it's not new content. So districts have had success by related service providers being able to pull students from that time, especially some students who need several different services and areas of support. It allows that daily time. And then all students benefit because they have additional time for intervention or enrichment specific to mathematics if they're not working on a different content area.
Okay, so just as a follow-up question then, the mathematics is changing to what I thought looked like 79 minutes, but that back 20 is actually not part of, I mean,
That's part of it. So every day, the block will be about 59 minutes of math class, which is the recommended best practice, between 55 and 60. And then there's an additional 20 minutes that is the intervention period where some students may get additional math support. That'll be every day. So out of 5 days, maybe they're getting math support or enrichment, or maybe they're getting another content area or reduce the ratio type service.
okay. So my last question then, which is part of the content that I don't need today, but I'd like maybe for next time. You did a nice side-by-side schedule of, or not side-by-side, but you have like the junior high schedule and then the proposed, and you have a high school schedule and the proposed. I think I need that for elementary as well. Okay?
No problem.
Thanks.
Melissa, did you have your hand up?
I did, and the approach I kind of took is questions that were given to me that stakeholders, parents, and staff asked me. I wrote down, I put them all together, and that way I can ask you, how do we respond to them? I think one of the overwhelming, this is since I've been on the board, the topic that's people seem to, I've had the most feedback on. And one of the things that people pointed out, they had mentioned, and again, I'm saying what they say, so that I guess they're concerned about the data and the empirical evidence supporting block. We're saying that block scheduling is going to do all these things, but how do we know when the empirical data is like mixed results? There's not a lot of strong evidence, and they've cited other school districts nearby that have piloted for 2 years the block schedule, but decided to go back to more traditional scheduling. So I guess they cited well-rounded education, especially they found, I think this was Elmhurst, that decided that they needed to go back and add more science and social studies. So for the parents that are concerned that we're doing all these huge changes and they want to make sure that you know, it's worth it. They don't, you know, I hear comments like using their kids as guinea pigs. So if we're going to do all this work, what are we basing on data and research that this will meet these needs?
I would say a block schedule in and of itself is simply how we organize time. That's all a block schedule is. The purpose of organizing time in larger chunks is to be able to fundamentally transform the educational experiences we provide our students. As time has gone on, the basic high school schedule as it stands today has 50-minute periods as its base. And as time has gone on, as we've added win and soar time and as we've added PLCs, we've shortened those periods on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays to allow for those PLCs to occur and for the win and soar time to occur. Every class period has a rhythm, and one of those things we do at the beginning of every period is to open class with taking of attendance and some administrative tasks. It's going to be reviewing the agenda for the day, et cetera, and then you really get into the learning, and then you'll spend the last couple of minutes kind of reiterating what you did today, here's what you need to take home with you, here's what to bring tomorrow, et cetera. So when you take a 50-minute period and narrow it to, let's say, 42, and then introduce another 7 or 8 minutes every period of startup and shutdown, what you end up with are very small, chopped-up periods of time for actual learning. And when we were, I was visiting one of the teacher groups at Naperville Central during their Institute Day, and one of the math teachers was commenting in particular about one of the advantages of the block. When our teachers are going through and planning their curriculum and planning their instruction with their curriculum, they oftentimes sometimes have to chop up their learning targets into multiple days. And so, because you may have a topic that would be ideally taught in 90 minutes, but it has to be chopped up into small pieces because the chunks of time they have for that are limited. By being able to have those longer blocks of time, a teacher can truly go from start to finish in so many more of their lessons as they plan their units. So you are correct. I mean, the organization of time is not necessarily good or bad. It's what that longer period of time allows us to do. And our focus with the block schedule is to create opportunities for our students to work more deeply, and that really becomes difficult to start and stop in small chunks of time.
Okay, thank you. In regards to that, when they cited the research, some specific concerns that they brought up were the attention span, the concerns about attention span and lower retention. Our kids don't necessarily can't sit there and listen as much. We have, neurodiversity and a lot of things going on. So again, attention span and lower retention. They cited a study that showed that adequate yearly progress in all areas, not just reading and math, was better met through a more traditional approach to scheduling. Maintaining sustained engagements was an issue, and then they cited some concerns about some feedback that it actually increased achievement gaps. So what do you say to those?
I would say I haven't seen what research you're quoting. Not to say that I disputed its face. There, again, it all depends on the instruction that's happening inside of the structure. That's the most important thing. The relationship between a teacher and a student is the absolute number one thing that impacts student achievement. And I would say we have amazing educators in this district, ones that are truly dedicated to their craft and do a phenomenal job in the classroom. This is going to be a shift to go throw them together, and now we have an 85-minute period of time, and that is not what we are going to do. In fact, at our January 5th Institute Day, our teachers sat down with both Naperville North and Naperville Central with a week in the life of a particular class or a unit, and then sat down and thought, how would we reorganize these tasks into 85-minute blocks where students will have the opportunity to work for maybe 20 minutes, and they would have a break, a three or 4 minute transition, then move on to another activity, but things that are all related and tied together so that by the time they get to the end of the 85 minutes, they've completely addressed the learning target. This is already happening in our elementary classrooms where they have these long blocks of time for mathematics and literacy. So this is just a matter of continuing what we're already doing at the elementary level and carrying that forward into the secondary level.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to go on. If I could just ask.
Yeah, I'm also going to just,
sorry.
yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
that's
More
fine.
information.
Yeah, more information. I think also we look at research, right? We looked at research, and when you look at the research, there's research for block schedules, and there's also research that's going to be against block schedules. So we really did our due diligence in reaching out to our districts around us that actually have successful blocks. And so really saying what works, what doesn't work. And ours is, like Dr. Cohen had said, what we really like about our block is that we do have that anchor day in the middle so that we can go through every single class period with our students. The other thing is we have to look at all the different variables and what happens within that block. And so when we look at wanting to go deeper, when we look at wanting to have our students experience more, and we think about relationships, actually the data will say for relationships with our staff, more time does increase that student to teacher relationship and the SEL and the sense of belonging. And that really is something that was a priority when you saw that on our slides for our students. The other thing is, and Dr. Cohen talked about this as well, that they transition very quickly to a block in the college experience. And so they live a block. And we do need, when we think about college, career, and life ready, we do need our students to have those experiences. So we have had actually educators that teach in a block that have come to us and say, we really like that you have that anchor day, because that's a little bit different than many of our surrounding districts. And I would say it's kind of 50-50. I don't know that many that have switched. Have there been some? Probably, of course there has. But then there's also some that are like us that are going to the block. And so we definitely look at things and look at the benefits. The benefits for sure for us outweighed what we have right now, and that is what our staff looked into.
Okay, I was just going to follow up. I wanted to thank Donna. I thought I did hear a big concern about the timeline from parents, and then being able to make adjustments for their schedule, that this is pretty aggressive. The other comment I heard along the same lines, having been a teacher myself in elementary than middle school, I can attest that especially elementary school teachers, I remember times I couldn't eat a lean cuisine, I didn't have the time, because you are planning every class. You do a lot more individual planning versus when I did middle school, you might teach two subjects, two different classes. So I guess I have questions as far as we're already into January, and parents are concerned that they're not finalized. We're kind of doing this. They're concerned about the benefits of having such an aggressive timeline as to them being able to make the adjustments with childcare, with outside activities, in order to accomplish, this block scheduling. Is there a way, if we get a lot of feedback that this is too aggressive, because this can put more stress on the families, is there going to be a conversation of if this is working for our families?
Yeah, so if I can address that, I'll invite members of the team. Thank you for expressing what you've heard. I think that's something that we've talked about. We've talked about it with, I know it's definitely one of our employee groups too, about thinking about that timeline. What I will tell you, and I do not want to speak on behalf of every individual in the design team, no matter who they are. If we left it to most of them, they'd say we ought to start it tomorrow. Right? There's a lot of things that we have to work out first, right? I think our implementation timeline, which was noted by a board member earlier, will be a part of our final recommendation. It is our desire to begin this next year. And I would say we also run the risk of actual implementation. We actually run the risk of impact on morale among some of our groups. We actually know we can do it better, and to intentionally hold off, I think, is also a concern as well. So we definitely acknowledge that there's got to be a point when we say if we can't get it agreed to by this time. I don't know what that is yet, but we will make sure that that is a part of our conversation and a part of our formal recommendation.
Okay, good, thank you. And I had another, they asked me, and I didn't know this, they filled out slips with feedback, and they wanted to know how those slips would be utilized. Would that be reported to the board, the information? I think one thing I heard a lot of was a lot of the parents felt like this was presented to them, like comments like, oh, they're going to go through and push this through whether we're ready or not, and they didn't feel like they'd really been heard. So I guess I want to know, I think Donna had a comment about having the question and answer period, but they did want to know what will happen with their comments that they wrote in.
Yeah, so any participants who wrote comments or contributed on those sheets, those are summarized and posted to our district webpage already. Okay. The ones from last week are not yet posted, but they should be posted by tomorrow. Then there was an individual comment option as well. Yeah. We had almost 300 people participate either virtually or in person. We've received 41 comments. All of those comments and the Focus 203 feedback from the tables will be summarized and included in our next presentation. Additionally, as part of our communication plan draft, we will have an opportunity for people to submit Let's Talk to a specific Focus 203, Innovative School Experience bucket, essentially, so they can submit all their questions when we finalize the recommendation to that as well, to get their questions answered individually.
Yeah, I just want to address, I think, what I see as general theme about a lot of questions that we heard and comments and feedback that we've heard through various stakeholder groups. A lot of the questions we're getting revolve around how is this going to impact me, or what is this change going to mean for me and my schedule? And that's a very natural and appropriate response. While there are some, why are you doing this, or why is this your recommendation, we don't feel a huge field of questions about trying to innovate and do things differently, and that's a positive thing. And so all of this, that's why, our initial intent was to present a recommendation this evening. But to ensure that we do deliberately hear voice, we want to make sure that that happens and that it's considered as well. So to Lisa's point, summarized, posted, and will be available. And then administration, based on questions and feedback we hear from the board, as well as those community member input, as well as also our Superintendent Student Advisory Council, who will also be providing input on this. So definitely ensure that we listen to the voices.
And then I just wanted, one last thing was that they were, one universal positive comment was that they did agree and did want to see solutions, possible alternative solutions. So the long bus ride that the high school students have, that it's an hour and they get there. Some of the things that were said is that at some of the tables, the elementary people's mouths kind of dropped and went, oh, the kids sit there, they get there that early. So they are happy that there's efforts being made to provide solutions for that
I
situation.
appreciate hearing that, because I will tell you this, if a worst case scenario were to occur and no changes were to be made to the school day, we must address some structural issues with our transportation. So thank you, I appreciate that feedback.
Charles?
Okay, so we've got a couple of different things. I didn't send this in advance, so I apologize for that. But the first thing I'll say is I'm glad you started off with the statement in the beginning of the presentation, because I will tell you I am very much bought into the why around this. To reiterate what you said, it says we need to prepare our students for success in their future, not our past. And I think that's a very profound way of looking at it, because the world is different, it's changing really fast. And we would not be doing our jobs the best we could if we weren't trying to anticipate what the kids are going to need, not necessarily what we had. Because what was successful in the past isn't necessarily going to be successful in the future. So totally bought into the why behind this. I would love to kind of take a similar vein to one of my former colleagues around things I'd like to hear as we are learning about this. So I'm not necessarily looking for answers for any of this tonight. But to get a good understanding of some of the practical challenges, it was great to hear from basically every member of the administration. I would love to hear from a few staff members in terms of the folks kind of boots on the ground, like what's this going to mean for me in terms of my day and instructional things like that, just to kind of get a sense of some of the practical challenges, because there will be practical challenges, and that doesn't mean we don't move forward, but I would love to kind of hear some of the things that we're wrestling with and some of the mitigation strategies that are being anticipated to put in place, extra supports, whatever that might be, to help with this transition. Similar to when we had this Superintendent Student Advisory Council, we had them come in and kind of talk about the things that they've talked about with you, Dan. Something very similar from the staff that are going to be impacted by this. The other question I had was, have there the things I'd like to understand are, any thoughts on the differentiated impact that this may have on different student populations? So looking at this from a lens of DEI, or even I thought the comment that the student that spoke this evening, okay, I'm an AP student. What's this going to look like for me? So really trying to understand through the various lenses, because each of those lenses is going to have its own set of challenges. Again, doesn't mean you don't move forward with it, but it's how do you anticipate extra support that might be needed for one set of a population or the other? Because I thought that the concerns that he raised were good ones to at least have answers to. Again, doesn't mean you don't move forward. And then how long do we realistically think it will take to fully transition to this? So we can say, okay, we're going to start this next year. That's just the start. There's going to be a huge learning curve for students, staff, parents, everybody involved. And I want to make sure that we are painting a realistic picture that some numbers and some expectations might change as we're transitioning to this. Again, doesn't mean you don't move forward, but it does. I think setting some expectations as to here's what we can expect to see. In year one, we might see a dip here, a decline here, or a challenge here, a challenge there. But that doesn't mean that this isn't the right thing to do. It's okay as long as we understand that that's what there's going to be some growing pains with this. I'd love to see a little bit of the growing pains that you kind of expect, so that a year from now or 2 years from now, you can kind of say, yep, we anticipated there'd be a challenge here, here's the mitigation we put in place, et cetera. And to that vein, like additional support that may be needed to transition to this for staff and students. And then the other thing is, I thought it was very interesting, the slide that I think Mike presented, slide 47, about the operational efficiency. Are there any cost savings we're expecting from this in terms of fuel savings because the buses are able to be more efficient or something like that? I'm just curious as to if that's been looked at, and if not, then.
So that's something we're not ready to talk about yet.
Okay.
We've actually had, even as recent as this morning, conversation with transportation consultant about what scheduling this could look like. So definitely mindful of that. And
yeah, okay. Because I know that the current schedule creates huge challenges around that in terms of coverage and ability to kind of get things turned around, et cetera, in the different routes. And then the last area is really taking a look at what are the early measures we're going to look at to kind of say, this is working, this isn't working, okay, this is changed here, we expected it to be a little bit of a challenge, but we're working through it, that's just a growing pain, that's not a growing pain, that's something that we didn't see coming. To try to just have a sense of what are the measures that we are going to try to put in place to kind of get a pulse check of, okay, this is going in the direction we thought, versus this is not going the direction we thought. And just kind of flagging that early, not just for the board, not just for the community, for staff, because I think part of any change that you go through in the change management process has to be setting the appropriate expectations for, the great stuff you expect to see, and also the not so great stuff you expect to see. And it's okay, as long as we're communicating up front and we're all taking that leap together, it's fine. But I think it's important to set those expectations appropriately. So those would be my thoughts and comments. But again, like I said from the very beginning, totally bought into the why we're doing this. I think that your comment around preparing students for their future, not our past, was very much spot on, and a rallying cry that I think we can all get behind.
Joe, I believe you have a question.
Yes, thank you. For the presentation, it's very, very well laid out, very thoughtful. A lot of thought and work clearly went into this, and I'm really glad to see that the design team had administrators, staff, teachers, everybody on those. And I really appreciated the discussions at the Focus 203 meetings last week for community input. Can you talk a little bit about feedback that teachers and staff and students at the different levels were able to provide as well, and if that will be shared in addition to the Focus 203 feedback?
Well, some of that feedback was shared today through the slide. So each level had one slide about staff feedback, and then at the junior high and high school level, also students who gave feedback. Groups beyond that, we are going to share that feedback at the February 3rd board meeting. So, we're talking with the Workforce Innovation Council, and we have SSAC, and there are other groups. I don't know if there are other level superintendents want to speak to other feedback groups that they've already received.
I will speak to the middle school level just to kind of lay out the specifics. So there was a 6-8 student survey, a 6-8 staff survey last year. Innovative School Day Design Team had about 35 members from all buildings, as well as district staff, certified staff, paraprofessionals on our team. We did a listening tour at all 5 middle schools where Jenny Donatelli and myself and Jane Willard sat and listened to staff's questions, concerns, ideas, and took to continue to refine the recommendation. In addition, there is a middle school student leadership culture group that I'm fortunate enough to spend time with these student leaders, and we did some feedback activities around their current school experience, and that was in December. So kind of presenting elements of the plan and getting feedback specific to how they felt about that or their experience. There was additional survey, and for the middle school level, we've had an ongoing question and answer document where people submit their questions, and the answers are shared back as we have them so that everyone has access to the same information. So that's just kind of an example of the specific ways we've gone about getting information, especially in the last year. And then I think that we have to continue to look at different data elements, and we'll probably talk about that in the next presentation, but we're always looking at academic achievement, our behavior data, our attendance data, our tardies, chronic truancy rates, 5 essential surveys. So we get information in various formats throughout the year, every year, and so we've been tracking this for a long period of time, and so we are hopeful that when it was talked about early measures of success, that some areas that we are currently struggling with, that we will see early success in those areas because we are changing the experience and really the structure in which those could even occur, and then we will be able to start closing some gaps.
And also to echo that, Joe, with the high school principals have met with their principal advisory groups and shared with them details about the schedule and gotten feedback from those groups as well.
Thank you. So just a clarifying question. For the student and staff feedback that are in the presentation, for high school, start school later, more project-based and independent learning for the students. I guess I interpreted those as, things that the students indicated they wanted to see potentially in a new schedule. But it sounds like from the response, they've had places of engagement all the way through the process, and have seen kind of some of the elements of this and being able to give feedback, not at the beginning. Is that the right way to interpret that?
I would say that's accurate, and then we've been also meeting with students one-on-one if they've come up with any questions. I know both Jay and Jackie and myself have entertained small groups and some one-on-one meetings with students to answer any questions they have.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that all of the stakeholders have that opportunity to provide feedback throughout the process.
Kristen?
Okay, thank you. I'm super excited to ask questions. Thank you for the presentation that you all gave and for all of your contributions to it. I sort of think of this like Vision 2030. Like, we don't always have the chance to stop and think, how would we envision it if we were really putting it all together and saying, let's look forward, let's get our best state of affairs. And I'm super excited that we had the opportunity to do that and to look at some of our current challenges and say, how can we address all of those things as we're putting this together? I also am super grateful listening to this. We're a unit district. So when we look at this high school problems or those kinds of things, we can say, gosh, we see a really big achievement gap here at the high school level, and we can work on it all the way up. And I'm so excited that we were able to do that. I don't usually say this, but I feel like I'm Donna, but you had me at math. And that's, what I mean by that is I am the most concerned about our achievement gap in math at the high school level. And looking district-wide, gap at the elementary, gap at the middle school, big gap at the high school for some of our student groups. Big, too big, way too big. And so I am excited to see the increased focus on math and at the junior high level and the elementary, like better utilizing those instructional minutes. So making sure that we have the time to put on our coats and take off our coats, and that we then can spend all the time that we need with the math instruction. I appreciated the explanation about the 59 plus 20. I am interested about the high school level. So we've got the high school level. We have that big wind soar, the two 40-40s back to back. How will that be utilized? Is it going to be required for a student? Like, if you are a student who has some areas where you really need help, I know right now there's a process where they're requested to go. How do you envision that those 40 and 40 back to back will be spent for particularly increasing our math achievement at the high school level?
Yep. So a couple things that you've said that I'm gonna.
Sorry.
No, good. It was all great. I think it's for all of us to remember all of this is grounded in school improvement. Every single thing we're doing is grounded in school improvement, really by what the board says. How can you do things differently, right? We know we hear MTSS all the time. We need more time for interventions. We need more time to think through how do we get to our students that we know we have some achievement gaps. The only way we know to do that now is to do it differently. So like you said, is when we think about that what I need time, and really this is the what I need time at all levels, not just high school, but I will drill down to high school, is when right now we have that time, but kids can be competing. Like, let's say I need to go to Algebra 2, what I need, but I also know that I need to go into maybe Honors English 2, what I need as well. This gives opportunities for us to schedule students in both of those, because it's not just one time a week, and it's not just for the 25 minutes. It is more concentrated. So students will be scheduled in these. At the other side of it, we hear really good things from our science staff at the high school, because when they think about labs, right? This gives them more time, not only in the block, but students to come knowing that not all students need intervention. We want to keep it for intervention, but we also think about some of those extension activities and those extension times. Students need more time in AP. Their AP teacher can run intervention for AP at that time. So it really is how we schedule students, and really being more intentional on the scheduling rather than, oh, you can go to the cafeteria for a study hall. Some students may pick that, but really being intentional, especially when we add some of the collaboration time, our teachers will be able to collaborate more to say, hey, Dr. Cohen and Mrs. Willard are going to offer a physics lab. I'm not going to do that with you, but I would. But I'm going to do that. And so that we do the collaboration actually gives them more time to be intentional with their planning on their win time for our students.
Okay, I think that's helpful to understand in terms of the difference. Because you're right, you can be behind in more than one class. However, this will be my second point, which is all of it, in addition to how we schedule it, it's how we utilize it. And so like this whole plan about the professional development and how we are going to go from right now to a lot of things that we really need to do well, I'm very interested to know like how exactly we're going to cram that in, to get this off to a good start. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take you back to kind of the days of DLI, right? We knew just putting
Digital Learning Initiative.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Bridges. And when we put computers in kids' hands, right? That was a huge instructional shift for our educators. And we knew that just putting those devices wasn't going to transform learning and was going to enhance. We also knew we needed to do it. And so we came up with a 3-year plan for outcomes. What are our instructional outcomes over a 3-year period? We talk about change. Change doesn't happen just in 1 year. We really have to think about right now we're adding structures for change, but change is going to iterate. And so it will happen just like when we put in a new literacy curriculum. It's not the very first year. It always will take some time. So we really need to be intentional, and we are being, and we'll share this at the next meeting. What is our year 1 outcome for instruction? What's our year 2? And then what's our success criteria that is attached to that? And so there are things that we will be able to iterate that we don't know today, right? That we don't know because we'll say, wait, we've learned this, therefore we will change. And that's what we do as a district. That's the one thing I love about our district, that we're not afraid to do that, but we need to be very intentional with our educators and their professional learning, very intentional with the time and what our outcomes are for that time.
Okay, I think that's great. Evaluate success was on my list of, so I'm excited to hear that the February 3rd, both the outcomes that we're hoping for as well as, what we're going to measure and how we're going to be able to say, okay, this is meeting expectations and this isn't, and how we go from there. In addition to that, having had a child who has gone through the high school pathway endorsement, I see huge benefits for this. I think it would be great if you spelled that out for people who may not be as familiar, but the idea of having 2 days for your course really makes it, I think, makes you use your time better. Because like the way that it is right now, where we have a 2-block period every single day, and those internships are generally 2 days, that's a lot of time then on those other ones where you don't have instruction and you don't have your internship. So I think this is a positive way to actually be able to pile more learning in, because you're going to have a different course there and you're still going to be able to do that internship with that block period there. So I think that's really positive. I'm sure you have other things that you could share about how you think it's going to make that, that whole pathway better, but sharing those kinds of things, if you want to, at the February 3rd or wherever, that would be good. I know that there has been effort put into thinking about working families, particularly when we're looking at that elementary, that early childhood where we're cutting down a little bit. Can you just share for the community how much thought has gone into that, and where and how you will, continue to be able to facilitate, for example, busing to daycare and those kinds of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really important thought process that we have vetted, as Ann Reed really is looked at as a learning institution. And oftentimes we're compared to daycare opportunities. And so I think you bring up a really great point. I would say probably 50% of our bus routes actually go to daycare centers. We have obviously many in-home providers also come if they come through the community program. So absolutely we understand, well, there was convenient to have a 5-day schedule. I would say on the flip side, we oftentimes get many requests for our 3-year-olds specifically. Can I have my child just go 2 or 3 days? Because they are so young and so little. They may be going to a child care program before or after, but ultimately we absolutely see ourselves as a supplemental learning program. And the families that are looking for full-time daycare absolutely go that route.
Okay.
And if I could chime in for the elementary, we are adding the 15 minutes to the day, and then we'll work with our community partners, YMCA and Champions, to adjust schedules and make sure that those are accommodating to any changes in the elementary day, so that we are addressing the concerns with after school or before school care.
Okay, and then just my last questions, and they can be addressed whenever you want to, but it's on the junior high level. I caught it in the presentation that I didn't catch before. Are you considering high school credit? Because you mentioned that exploratories potentially with high school credit, and I know that when we did the Spanish change, that was something that was mentioned last year, and so I just am wondering if that's something that you're considering.
Yes, so we'll be fully implementing the level 1 Spanish and French for next school year. And so in the future, Jane and I may be bringing a recommendation forward. We're looking at the staff certification to ensure that that is ready, but they have been doing a year of professional development. It is in line with what the high school is offering for level 1.
I didn't catch that in the presentation before, but I think it's really great because it's responsive to some of the things that were brought to us at the last board meeting. And then the last thing is junior high sports. So I know that there has been a little bit of dialogue about that in terms of like how late the day is going to end, and like whether or not there was considerations about just wanting to keep kids able to participate in both those junior high sports, which are amazing because it's all your friends, and like when you go to high school, it's too special. I mean, it's so specialized, and so junior high is a great opportunity. So being able to do that, plus your club sport where you're more specialized, and then you go on to high school or whatever. Can you just express how you've worked that out so that?
So we are going to be making a final recommendation on the start and end times, but it was shared that middle school may be the last or later than what it is now. definitely had conversations. Currently, just a structural piece to note is that our buses for athletic sports are not arriving until on average at 3:45 p.m. So we get out of school at 2:50. The teams wait around for about an hour before the bus is available to pick us up. We are supposed to start most of our conference games by 4:15 at the latest, and many days we have a hard time with that start currently. In the new efforts with the transportation consultant and the transportation department, our ask is that the buses would be available at dismissal. So if we do get out later, that our buses would be there ready to take us. And so we're hopeful that it would not be much different than it is now, except for that our teams would be able to just walk out as well as our students and get on the bus versus having 55 minutes of unstructured time, which is not always favorable at the middle school level. And then in addition, if we do have a later start time, we would have an opportunity for clubs even before school potentially, or intramural practices, which currently do happen, except for it's much earlier than what it could potentially be. So we definitely want to prioritize that. We want our staff to still have the access to their extracurricular positions at all levels, and so that's all being taken into consideration and will be addressed in the formal recommendation. But it definitely is an important aspect of the middle school experience, and I know the Innovative School Day team, the staff, and the students definitely would like us to continue with that and expand our offerings as always.
Thank you for all of your great thought. I mean, each time we ask a question, it's clear that you've thought it through. So it's reassuring and it's promising for the future of this work. So thank you.
So I just have maybe some questions embedded in comments, but to what Kristen just said, as far as you're answering these questions, you can see that the thought was put into them before coming forward with this proposal. But the other thing that it's been my understanding is that this seems to all be coming from the bottom up, from our students and staff. It's not like this top-down decision, this is what we think we should do, and everybody, how does it look? So I find that seems to be somewhat of a tradition with this district, is that we're listening to what our students are telling us, and I think you referenced it, Mark, in the presentation about the pathway courses and the different internships. Kids want it. So we're trying to adapt to give them what they want. And even having all the design team work, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, the block schedule was one of the first things that came out of the high school team. And so I am always appreciative, when I was a parent in the district and now being in this position, that we listen and we try to do our best to follow what our staff and students are telling us. And then we followed the other tradition of going out and doing that research. So we take what we know from our district, we learn from others, and then we try to make it our own so that it serves our students. So I'm always impressed with that. It's, I think that goes to Charles' point about that should help us with those growing pains. We're able to look out there and say, this might be a problem, but we're ready for it, or we have some ideas on how to lessen it until we can tweak whatever needs to be tweaked. So I guess I really didn't have a question there, but I needed to put that out there. I appreciate that we're going to have all these questions compiled, and we have a couple meetings to really digest this and make sure that we're comfortable with anything brought to us. Donna.
Okay, I had a couple of quick follow-ups that I don't need an answer to now, but as I was talking about the impact of staff implementing, I would challenge us to look individually at grade levels, curricular areas, and look at what we're currently implementing or planning to implement that we can delay to make room for this to alleviate some of the expectations on staff. So in particular, I'm thinking about new curriculum, standard-based grading, like whatever, like if we have a teacher or an area that has to implement this new curriculum and standard-based grading, that's like overwhelming. So if we could, I challenge you to look at a little more minutia of how it's going to impact different levels and curricular areas. I also, following up on something that Charles said about the implementation phase, I would encourage us, and I'd like to hear as we talk about this later, if the design teams are going to continue to work through the implementation phase to be able to address concerns that arise during implementation. I think that would be super important to have staff and student input along the way, not just to get to there. And then a little sneak peek, your middle school to high school credit. There may be some state legislation to take care of that and move it away from certification of teachers to proficiency of students instead. So that may be helpful.
Amanda.
I'll keep it brief because I know it's late. I'm glad that I yielded my time earlier because a lot of the things that my colleagues said are really thoughtful and I learned a lot. But what really stood out to me again was one of the things I really appreciate about this and what Kristen emphasizes, us being a unit district, to be able to provide that consistency from elementary to high school, especially with like transitioning from to blocks, like a kind of block schedule in the junior high level and then into high school. I am kind of wondering about how we would prepare the elementary age kids to go from, that kind of classroom schedule into more of a block schedule. Maybe it's easier because they're with the teacher longer, but I'm not sure. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the incoming sixth graders may have an easier time next year than our current seventh or eighth in some aspects, but when we hear block schedule, every block schedule looks different, and I do definitely want to continue to point out, you'll hear me say flexible modified block, and that is because it looks much different than the high school block schedule. Over half the day is still separated periods. They still have lunch and recess. They still have physical education every day. They have 2 additional exploratories instead of 1. They have their similar ELA block, which they currently have. They're going to have math, but it's going to be chunked with an intervention because we know that there's going to be a pause that's needed for adolescents and truly serving what they need. And then science and social studies has the flexibility to do what they need based on, is it a lab day? Is it a presentation? Are we doing a research project? We have a guest speaker. Like, what is actually instructionally best for the students and staff experience? So when we say block, I use that loosely, and that's why I always say flexible modified block, because it truly is a combination that we think our students, adolescents can handle. They still have transitions throughout the day. And there's also structures for a block content area where we'll be looking at movement breaks and different things, but we do believe that we have a combination that will serve our students well.
I'm going to answer it a little bit differently. A lot of the elementary day is blocked.
I was wondering.
On a daily basis already. And so,
Creates
I mean,
more
not entirely, but there are blocks of, Katie, or maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so that elementary day, thinking specifically about literacy as an example, we have literacy blocks of time, and then our teachers organize that time to release responsibility to students and really build student skills. So our students are focusing on the profile of a learner and developing those competencies as early childhood, elementary, and then into middle school and high school. And elementary really is the foundation for building those skills and executive functioning and focus and all those things. And so at the elementary level, our current schedules do allow for teachers to have those blocks of time and then really provide quality practices that are going to engage students for longer stints of time.
So in a way, it's more developmentally appropriate, right? Because it's more consistent for them as they make that transition. And Allison, looks like you're getting ready to start your own, build your own acronym, FMD, flexible. So another one to learn. One thing one of the challenges addressing was about professional collaboration. But that's not something I necessarily heard or saw in the schedules, was like, when will these teacher planning periods happen? And like with block periods, does that mean now they're having like 80 minutes to plan a day? Or, how does that work?
So each level is different, so we can each respond to that. At the middle school level, the professional learning is within the school day. So when students are at exploratories, they do have professional and personal planning time. With that, we are super excited because our exploratory teachers at the middle school level have never had an opportunity to have a professional learning collaboration time except for Institute Day or outside of school or on their own time. And with the new recommended schedule, every single exploratory teacher at all 5 buildings have a daily PLC where they could even cross town via Zoom or meet if necessary. So the schedule is, that was one of the beliefs that we went into. We heard from staff that they needed additional collaboration opportunities, especially with their counterparts. If there's one art teacher in a building, they or 2, or with band, choir, and orchestra staff, they never had time to collaborate. And so we are super excited that this would be the first time in decades, maybe ever, in Naperville that they would have that PLC time at the middle school.
Yeah, at the elementary, the collaboration and planning time is built within the school day, and then there's also structures already in place for that outside of the day. One of the goals in the proposal at the elementary level is to provide consistency in that collaboration and plan time. It currently looks different in different buildings, and how it's implemented is different across the district. And a goal is to have collaboration not only within the school itself, but across the district. So in some buildings, we may have one teacher who teaches a specific area, for example, a math interventionist, and having a consistent schedule where not only can they collaborate with staff members within the building and at different grade levels and different teams, but also across the district. So having a set schedule where, as Allison referred to, math interventionists can Zoom and collaborate and spend time planning together is a goal of this plan and something that is proposed.
And the high school PLC time really has to occur outside of the student day because we, by design, intentionally spread our teachers out through all of the, time during the day, so it is to minimize conflicts in all those single and double section courses that we offer. So we're going to be working with our partners in the NUEA to discuss what that could look like and work on that through the collective bargaining process.
And then at the early childhood level, big goal of the early childhood is the increased collaboration time. Our early childhood teachers are triple certified, and so the ability to work together to plan for the unique needs of students is really important. And we also have a large number of support staff at the early childhood level, and the time for our certified staff to collaborate and work with the support staff to also help meet the needs of our individual students is another piece that will be pivotal in this plan.
Awesome. Just one last comment. With change management, oftentimes change happens either like it's forced upon you, like the pandemic, and you have to move real quick, or you can take time to like really kind of be thoughtful about it. And this has been happening for 7 years, right? Since 2018. So even though it's new to us, I know that you all have been very thoughtful and thinking about it for the past 7 years. So it gives me a little bit more confidence in the intentionality of rolling this out. But I do think that we just need to, as many of my colleagues have already mentioned, just be mindful about how that feels for staff, for students, for families, and allowing them that space to provide that adjustment and then also express and then just get that feedback, which you said you're doing, and I appreciate that. I just wanted to recognize that. Thanks.
Melissa.
I just wanted to go back. Some of the feedback I received, and you were talking about the collaborating. This was specifically with elementary, is what I heard was, yes, there was plans to add more time for collaboration, but that the planning time necessary to make all the adapt the curriculum, change all your lesson plans will be much more labor intensive at the elementary level. And they were saying that the actual individual plan time for teachers is actually the shortest at the elementary level. So it would be interesting, it would be nice to know, along with the collaboration, how much actual time will the teachers receive to do individual planning versus, the collaboration. The other thing I did notice in the presentation, it said you were adding those 15 minutes in the beginning of the class, and it said all the things you're going to do during that 15 minutes. That seemed pretty aggressive to me, that like 15 minutes. So I really want, when we come back with the recommendations that, it's very specific and doable. I think that Kristen brought up a very good point about it's not only just how we schedule this, it's how we utilize the time. And I think, the communication with the staff and parents, I guess I've heard a lot of feedback that it could have been better. I think it would help everyone. I know that a lot of times it's easy for us to use jargons that are educational jargon, but parents, I'm hearing that this kind of seems vague, but they really want to see what that looks like when you're describing this versus generalizations, so they know exactly what they're getting into. And then my only ask, it was great to hear that we have all different types of feedback. We have surveys from students and teachers. We have question and answer. I know we're going to get that. It would be great if we could get the sooner we can get that to be prepared for that discussion on February 3rd would be nice, because like I said, I like to see, it triggers me to think about all these different perspectives. I just have a board member perspective, but it's nice to know what the teachers think, and that way I can be prepared with questions and for the conversation on February 3rd. So thank you.
And if I could just respond to two of the questions that you
Sure.
had brought up. The first one was about collaboration, and I talked a little bit about the inconsistencies of how time is being used. So right now, some schools are using time within the school day for multiple professional learning collaborative meetings and not using it the time that's designated necessarily outside of the school day. And so by providing that consistency and making that shift, it will protect the individual plan time within the day and provide consistency when the collaboration is happening. So that is one way in which that's being addressed. And then in terms of the 15 minutes, it's really a combination of ways in which the team arrived at that 15 minutes. One of the priorities of the design team was about integration of content areas, specifically looking at literacy, social global studies, and science. And there was an adjustment in conjunction with our curriculum department to make changes to the instructional minutes at literacy and science and social studies. And because of a new resource that we're adopting at the elementary level, there's the ability to integrate science and social studies topics into literacy and building students' background knowledge through literature and the reading that they're doing, which then allows us to change the minutes and gain some minutes there. So the 15 minutes is being recommended because we have minutes that we have allotted in other ways, and then looking at, okay, what additional time do we need in order to achieve all of those goals?
Okay, so we'll wait for the next presentation.